Lads, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sheffield United Way YouTube channel. And in today's video, we're going to be rating every Sheffield United player from this season from 10 to 1. Lads.
It's not been a great season. We did this the previous season, the 1920 season, and it was a lot easier. The average, I would have said then, was probably 7.5. There's going to be a number of players that bring the overall average right down.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, let's get straight into it. Let's do a little bit of an easier one. Start with the goalkeeper, Aaron Ramsdale. Hal, what have you gone for?
Right, I toyed between an 8 and an 8.5, and I settled on an 8 purely because he had those first 3 months that were quite bad. I think even Aaron would admit that. And then he completely turned it around to win Player of the Season.
He did. What would you have gone for out of interest if it was 3 months ago?
Probably a 5, and that shows you just how much he did to prove so many doubters wrong.
Yeah, definitely. I think I went for a 4. I would have gone for a 4, and I've doubled it to an 8. So up to now, we're in agreement. I'm sure that's not going to continue.
No chance.
No. So let's move on to the right wing backs, because this season we've got 2. Last season we didn't. This season we do. George Bullock, first of all. Hal, I'll let you start.
I've actually gone with a 6.5, and that might seem harsh because he had to play right wing back. He also had to play centre back at times, but he wasn't quite as effective as he had been the previous seasons. And I thought his crossing in the final third really let him down. So 6.5.
For George Bullock as well, Hal, I have also gone 6.5. I think, yeah, you're right. Centre back, he did play there, but I think he did quite well. George Bullock, for me, has probably been one of the only players that played anywhere near what he played last season. Obviously, not quite as good, but he did play a lot better than 90% of these players. Let's move on to Jaden Bogle. I've gone for a strong 6.5. It's weird to say that he's the same as Bullock in the ratings, but I think just because he's not played as many games as Bullock, I think that's the reason why I've gone a bit lower. And he has been at fault for a few goals this season because his defensive point, it's not quite as good as his defensive skills.
He's made 16 appearances in the Premier League, 2 goals, not bad for a right wing back. Despite only playing in 16, he was involved in 4 wins. And we didn't win that many games, as you know, so that's actually really impressive and is testament to just how well he did, particularly getting forward. He was involved in so many passes. He was actually our second best signing of the season. I don't think too many people would dispute that. So for that, I'm giving him a 7.
Next up, we've got the left wing backs. And really, Hal, I'm not sure who to put in here because we've had so many different ones. So many of them have played left centre back as well. So let's go Frenda Stevens first, the obvious choice for left wing back. What have you gone for?
I initially felt really cruel. I was going to give him his squad number as his score, which would have been a 3. That's, of course, what left backs wear, but it's not quite right. He had a bad season. He's actually really had a bad beyond a season, kind of a whole year of being poor. He came back poor after the lockdown. So I'm actually giving him a 4, which is only just above a 3, because we only saw maybe 2 games where it was proper flashes of the Ender of old. And he was still trying to do things like take players on, the nutmegs and the skill, which worked so well for him. Like we all remember that performance at Chelsea away in the 1920 season, but it just didn't happen for him. It didn't click, and he actually looked tired.
Yeah, he flattered to deceive a lot of the time because you looked at him and you thought, oh, is he starting to get back to what he was kind of before the lockdown? And then he just had another really poor game. I don't think he really had one very, very good game this season. So I think that shows. And I've gone for a 4 as well, mate. So moving on, Hal, Max Lowe is our next left wing back. It's going to be a tough one to do this one. I'm going to jump in there. I'm going to be nice on you. And I'm going to give him a 3. Straight up 3. I've got some people lower than that in this video, but I think he played okay in patches. Going forward, he was okay. And I don't want to be too cruel on the lad. He didn't play too many games. But in the games that he did play, he wasn't great. What do you say?
That's exactly what I've written down as well. A 3 for Max Lowe. I thought he was the poorest of the signings. I know he's one for the future, though, so let's reserve a little bit of judgment. And you're right to say we don't want to pile in too much on the young man because he is a young player. He has played quite a few games already in his career, but he never really looked like getting it the Sheffield United way.
So, Hal, going into left centre-back, I thought we might as well do left centre-back right now because there's 2 other players that could be classed as a left wing-back or a left centre-back. We've got your favourite, Jackie Longthrow, and we've got your other favourite, Keane Bryan.
Keane Bryan, incredibly only involved in 13 appearances. It felt like more 1 goal, that, of course, coming at Old Trafford in that incredible away win. Despite that, he was involved in 3 wins. Again, to say despite that, because he only played 13 times, and he was involved in 2 clean sheets, which I think is pretty good. Overall, apart from that home game against Chelsea, he didn't put too many feet wrong, and I was actually impressed with Keane Bryan. We both were when we did watch-alongs for pre-season, weren't we? We thought he actually looked good, particularly at that left wing-back spot, and I'm going to give him a 6.5, and a lot of that is to do with the fact that he had to wait so long to really make his name and make his mark on the team. Okay,
fair enough. Well, this is the first one that's wildly different. You've gone 6.5. I've gone 5.5. Keane Bryan, because I do that Chelsea game does stick in my head. Really, really poor back pass. I just thought it wasn't quite good enough. And moving on from that, I think that Jack Robinson, before he got injured and stuff, I thought exactly the same, and I would have given him a 5.52 if it wasn't for the back end of this season. I can't go wildly 6.5, but I'm going 6 for Jackie Longthrow. What about you, mate?
Yeah, spot on. 6 for Jackie Longthrow as well. The end of the season has perhaps that recency bias warped our scoring slightly, because before that, if he hadn't come back from injury, I don't think we'd have gone that high. But he really did play well and showed us actually what he's got in his locker, which was exciting to see.
He was the first player that we played in that left centre back. So we were just comparing him to Jack O'Connell, weren't we? And then when Keane Bryan came in, it were like, oh, well, he's doing all right. We didn't really expect him to be this good. And then when Jack Robinson came back in, it's like, oh, actually, I wonder if he played massively better than what he did at the start of the season. It was just that we were always comparing him to Jack O'Connell.
It's a good point.
Possibly. Anyway, moving on to central centre-back, we've got Jags and we've got John Eagan. So, Hal, I'll let you go with John Eagan first.
It's a straight 7 for me for John Eagan. Not quite the John Eagan of last season, but who really was, apart from David Mcgoldrick, actually better than the 1920 season. It always makes it sound like I'm talking about a really, really long time ago. But John Eagan, just steady, and only a few moments where I thought, yeah, you've kind of let yourself down and the side down. And I'm talking about unnecessary bookings he took on a few occasions, red cards that cost the team, and just a couple of individual errors that I can remember. But overall, John Eagan was absolutely solid, Mr. Reliable, Mr. Dependable, gets his head on everything. I love him.
Yeah, I love him. But everything else that you just said, I don't know. I feel like this season, he should have been that leader. And I know he is that leader, but I just feel like he made too many mistakes this season. One that sticks in my mind massively was Eze against, obviously against Palace, where he just walked past him. And that is one of them where you need to take a booking. I'm talking about the one at home here. And I feel like a few times this season, someone's made a mistake and we've looked back at the instant replay and been like, oh, that was John Eagan. Another one, Everton away, where the ball came into the box, free header, and you're thinking, who was that man? Who was Richarlison's man? And it was Eagan. And it's like there were a few things this season that he did not do last season. Now, I'm not blaming it all on him because he doesn't have the players around him that he had last season, or the goalkeeper that he obviously had confidence in the full season. I just don't think he's been as good as what I expected. I've gone 6 for John Eagan. I'm sorry, mate. I'm sorry. But it's good. It's good that we've got different opinions because we are so alike when we talk about these footballers. So let's go on to Jags, and obviously he's just left the football club. We're all gutted about him. If we were talking about the first Jags, I think every single season he would have been between 10 and 8, no lower than 8. So what are you saying for this season, Hal?
I mean, we all owe him such a huge debt of gratitude. Phil Jagielka, a proper legend of the club, and there were moments over the past 2 seasons in the Premier League where Jags looked slightly off the pace and not quite the Jagielka of old. So different from that youngster that we saw playing central midfield, right back, centre back, goalkeeper. This season is a different player. He's been a player that has been ideally coming in as that central centre back cover for Eagan, as I think was what he was brought in for, and he probably wasn't expecting to play as much as he has. He actually probably looked better this season than he did last season, and I was pleasantly surprised, particularly with that performance at Old Trafford, which was a Trojan-like defensive display on what I'm sure will be his last ever appearance at Old Trafford, and I loved seeing that again. So it's one of those ones where I really toyed between what I think he actually deserves and if he wasn't Phil Jagielka, what he'd get. You know, if he was just a new signing and he was 28 rather than 38, I'd probably have given him a different score. But because it's Jags and because he's going up against, possibly pain in the knees, 6.5.
6 again, I'm 1 below you there, 5.5. I think it would have been a lot lower if it wasn't for the Old Trafford game as well. I do think that he was poor in quite a few games, in all honesty. But you can't expect Jags, who's played no football, well, pretty much no football last season, and then having to come in and play week in, week out, because John Eagan was injured for a few weeks, and he did have to come in for other players as well. So, Jags, you can't really ask much more of him. He did have a couple of really good games, but like I say, he did have a couple of games where he were really poor, and I think that Southampton away game, they were all poor, but Jags was particularly poor. I don't like saying that because I love the man so much. But we'll move on to another man that we love so much in Mr. Chrissy Basham, Hal. What are you giving the legend that is Chris Basham this season?
Bash is bash, and that's a sentence that just Blades fans know exactly what it means. You almost always know what you're going to get with Chris Basham. Okay, sure, it wasn't quite the Chris Basham of the previous couple of campaigns, but he was still Mr. Reliable. There were some games he came away thinking Basham's the only player that gets any credit. He just gives his all, and we know, a bit like Ben Osborne, he's not the most naturally, technically gifted professional footballer, but he makes up for that in other ways. And I feel like people like us who weren't quite good enough to be footballers, there is one player that epitomises all us as fans would be, if we were on the pitch, one thing we would give is 100%. Even if we didn't have the ability. Well, Bash has obviously got the ability, but he also always gives 100%, and you certainly can't say that about every professional footballer these days. So Bash, for me, it's a 7.
Yes, 7. I've gone with 7 too. I think he's been better than Bullock. They're both dependable. We know that. But I think Bash has been slightly better than Bullock this season. There has been some times this season where he has been at fault for certain goals or certain build-up play and things like that. But he has been dependable, Bash. He's given 100%. He's somebody that you can always rely on, isn't he? So, 7 definitely for Bash, which 7's quite a high score in this season when we finished rock bottom of the league. So, I think we knew at the start of the season that we wouldn't be giving Bash anything less than 7 anyway, because that is Bash. Bash is Bash, Hal.
Bash is Bash. I just looked up some of his stats, right? So he made 69 tackles, a 61% tackle success rate, 49 interceptions, 103 clearances, 62 headed clearances, all this in just 31 appearances.
Yeah, when we were looking through all these players, I think you'll be as shocked as me, Hal, that how many players didn't play 30 games or more, especially with last season. Yeah, it's just crazy looking at the numbers, and that just proves that's one of the reasons why we've been relegated. Maybe not relegated, but finish rock bottom. And we're moving on to another player, Ethan Ampadu, that actually played quite a few games. I've got 29 down here, but I think this might be one game less. So is it 30 that you've got for Ethan Ampadu, Hal?
I thought in the Premier League it was the first one you said. 4 wins he was involved with, and he was again part of 2 clean sheets. But he did sort of get involved in conceding 41 goals, and I think we all can remember that one at Palace away, which was a horror show.
Yeah, absolutely. There were definitely a few own goals in there as well, weren't there? Which is always a bit harsh, especially when someone's putting the body on the line, because there was a couple from Norwood as well. But it's just players trying to get the body in front of the ball and trying to stop it. And someone giving away an own goal, unless it's like a Bullock Man City own goal, then you're like, I feel sorry for him. But they're trying to get the body in front of the ball, trying to stop the ball from going in the back of the net. I just feel sorry for him. But for me, Ethan Ampadu, I've gone for a 6.
It's interesting. I was looking again at more of his stats, and one thing that stands out about Ethan Ampadu when you look at the Premier League list of stats that they've got on their official website is one area he really shines in is the duels won against the duels lost. So he won 147 duels and he lost 86. Any time that you've won more than you've lost as a defender or a defensive midfielder, you're doing well, and that's actually good. It's amazing when you look at stats and when you actually look with the naked eye at a player out on the pitch, because I wouldn't have guessed that Ethan Ampadu had been anywhere near that kind of thing, because sometimes you felt like he didn't always get stuck in when you wanted him to. And overall, I was more impressed with him as a defender than a defensive midfielder where he played earlier on in the season, and I'm giving him a 6.
Oh, right. Okay, cool. Yeah, to be honest, there's a lot of Chelsea fans that come on Twitter and like spout off all the stats and stuff like that and saying, oh, he's done this, he's done that, he's number one at this, he's number one at that. And it's like, just speak to a Sheffield United fan, because, stats are great, but stats don't get you points. So, I think if it was earlier in the season, I'd have probably given him a 3 or a 4. But he definitely got better as the season went on, and it's just a bit of a shame that it was cut short. So, Hal, let's jump to midfield now. And we've got defensive midfield first of all, which is obviously Ollie Norwood. I think Ampadu played there a little bit. That's about it, really. So let's go straight in with Ollie Norwood. What are you going for, mate?
Not his best season. I think he'll be disappointed. He'll look back on this season as his worst in a red and white shirt. Didn't get involved enough defensively. Didn't get involved enough at the other end of the pitch. No assists to his name. No goals, apart from own goals. That doesn't, of course, tell its story, because some of the own goals, as you already mentioned, were incredibly unfair, and he was doing the right thing, trying to get his foot into block. But made too many individual errors at key times in key games, which actually cost us points, big points, and really contributed to a dreadful season. Ollie Norwood has been one of the best, if not top 3 Chris Wilder signings, you could argue. But this season, I think he'll admit he let himself down. I know I sound like I'm being really harsh on the poor guy, but he needs to bounce back. He needs to have a really good season next season. Otherwise, you might say Ollie Norwood's time as particularly a great Sheffield United player and even vice-captain has come. I'm going to go with 4.5.
Right, okay. Well, I've gone lower than you, mate. I've gone 4 for Ollie Norwood. Like everything that you've just said, he's made so many individual mistakes this season that have led to goals, and they're the ones that you remember. They're the ones that stick in your mind. It's not those ones where they just go on the attack and nothing comes of it. It's goals that you're giving away, sloppy passes, too long on the ball. That's the main thing that Ollie Norwood's done this season. But the thing is, not
seeing what's coming. He's not been aware in some games, and sometimes in the Premier League you get that time, but not this season, and also not when you're down there. You just don't get the rubs of the green.
No, you definitely don't. You definitely don't. And like you say, we all love. Well, I thought everybody loved Ollie Norwood until this season, and as soon as he starts making a few mistakes, everybody's getting on his back, and I can't get on somebody's back that's done so much for this football club. But I've gone with a 4. Let's move on, because I don't want to talk about that anymore, because I love Ollie Norwood to bits, and I hope he has a great season this season. He will. Good. I'm glad you're saying that, and I'm going to believe you, Hal. I'm going to believe you. Let's move on to... No, we'll wait. We'll wait. We'll not do that one just yet. We'll leave him till the end. So let's move on to Sander Berger, Hal. So Sander Berger, I've got down here that he played 13 games this season. Well, 13 from the start anyway, which is a hell of a lot more than what I expected, because he's been injured for what seems like an eternity. So it's quite a difficult one because obviously he started the season quite well. I think we all expected to get ourselves out of this rut. And then he only came back for, 2 games, something like that. So what are you going to give him?
A 5. And it might sound harsh. I think he's going to be one of the best players maybe Sheffield United have ever had. But it's in fits and starts that we've seen what Sander Berger can do. We haven't seen it 10 games in a row. And that's not really been his fault. As you say, injuries. And he got that really bad, awful injury against Manchester United, which we had no idea it was going to be such a long-term blow for him, for his aspirations, for international future as well. So we need him to get fit. And we need him to have a long, sustained period of fitness to really see what he can do. And I also hope that he's with Sheffield United for a long time.
Yeah, completely agree. We've not seen the best of him just yet, have we? And it's pretty harsh to rate him this season. I'd rather have not, but we were saying that it was going to be 4 games or above so that we get Daniel Jefferson in there. But yeah, he's definitely played way more games than we thought. Earlier in the season, he was okay. I think against Fulham, he really took the bull by the horns and went for it and created some really good chances. But I don't remember much from him from the start of the season. I think for paying that much money for somebody, you hope to see a little bit more. And when you're not doing very well in the season, you want someone like that to just, like I say, take the bull by the horns and just try and kind of start creating stuff. I've gone for a 6. It's difficult. I think the reason why I've given him a 6 is because he was probably one of the better players before he got injured. So for that, I'm just going to give him a 6. Let's move on to Benny Boy Osborne. He probably would have been left wing back, I would have said, at the start of the season. But he's had to play this weird floating attacking midfield role in the past few games. I'm going to go straight in with a 7 here. I've gone big on Ben Osborne. I think if Ben Osborne would have created a few more chances, been a bit better on the ball in advanced areas, I'd have probably gone even to a 7.5 or an 8. But I do think he wastes a lot of possession sometimes. But you just can't whack what he does. He absolutely is all over the place, gets stuck in, and he's always looking for the ball. And that's what I love from a footballer.
Yeah, the stats online don't lie either when they tell you how successful he's been winning 50-50s, 19 times winning those, 95 recoveries. Even for someone so small, he's got a good number of headed clearances and interceptions. He's blocked 4 shots, 55% tackle success rate. He is a Duracell bunny. He's absolutely everywhere. Another one that I think epitomizes what a fan would be like in just giving absolutely everything. He plays like he really cares. He's full of passion. I've got so much time for Ben Osborne. I think he could play anywhere, possibly apart from goal, because he's not the tallest. And I'm going to give him a 7 as well, but I could easily be talked into a 7.5. He's impressed me every time.
I think you bang on there because, do you know what? I think I put it as 7.5 and I think I dropped it down to a 7 based on what I've given others. So, yeah, we're a massive, massive Ben Osborne fan club on this channel, aren't we, Hal?
Yeah, we need to get him on one day. Shall we agree to give it a 7.5 for Aussie?
Go on then. Okay, we've upped it to a 7.5 because you just love him. Gotta love him, Anya. Everywhere. He's absolutely everywhere. Let's move on to Johnny Boy Fleck or Jimmy Fleck. Which one do you want to rate?
Jimmy Fleck gets a 2. John Fleck gets a 6. And that still might seem like shock horror. How can you give John Fleck such a low score? And if you hadn't watched him this season...
No, it's not. I'm thinking, how you give him such a high number?
Well, maybe it's because of what he's done. And that's where I was going with that over previous seasons. And that shouldn't really come into my calculations because you're right. He hasn't had a good season. Tell me then, have you gone 5.5?
I went 5. Straight up 5. Poor, really poor season. And yeah, maybe I'm going the other way. Maybe I'm thinking John Fleck should be better than this. That's why I'm giving him such a low score. But at the same time, Hal, I think he's probably had 2 or 3 really good games this season.
It's more than that.
Really good games.
Do you remember I was doing the ratings for a lot of our fans react. So I feel like I've rated Fleck a lot. And I was looking back on some of them and I hadn't really rated him too low. Maybe I got lucky and got all his good games, but it was certainly more than 5.
You just rate everyone high because you're such an optimist, Hal.
I am an eternal glass half full. But no, Flecky for me, not as good a season. You're absolutely right. But I think you're also correct when you say that what I've done is I've gone because it's Fleck and because he's really had his first poorer season. Perhaps I've gone a bit high.
I just hope, mate. I just hope that we get the John Fleck of old next season. I hope he. The problem is, obviously, he's going to the Euros. I don't think he'll play too much, so we don't really want to see him coming back injured. But at the same time, like I said, I don't think he'll play too much. So hopefully, we'll get Fleck back. He'll get fit. He'll get really fit. He won't be struggling with an injury because I think he was carrying injuries this season.
That's the thing. Again, I gave him a 6 because he was playing with that awful back injury for so long and still putting in a shift.
Yeah. It was sort of, but it was Ollie Norwood for a lot of the season for me, giving the ball away really, really cheaply. And that's not John Fleck. And he likes to pick the ball up and run with it, doesn't he? And he didn't do that a lot this season.
He will under Jokanovic because Jokanovic is attack. That's going to really suit John Fleck, who will be able to drive on that left-hand side. Hopefully he's in his plans because you just don't know, do you? You just don't know. But anyway, we'll move on to. Is there anybody else? Is there anyone else? I think there might be a JL7.
JL7. Oh my God. Okay, I'll let you go first.
Do you know what? If you look at the numbers, and I'm not going to be that guy, but if you do look at his numbers and just black and white, he didn't actually have as bad a season as a lot of people.
Oh, sure.
As a lot of people would claim. I mean, things like he's quite accurate with his passing. Maybe that's because he did a lot of simple passes. He actually had more assists than a lot of other players. He was more of an attacking threat than a lot of other players. He also missed big chances when you look at the XG. There's chances that John Lundstrom missed that normally players just don't miss. Sometimes they were world-class saves. Sometimes they were just poor misses. I still don't think his red card, you know my thoughts on this, at Brighton was a red card. That's what I want my players to be getting involved in, that sort of thing. And honestly, 10 years ago, it wouldn't have even been a yellow, but I sounded like an old man yelling at a cloud. I think that perhaps John Lundstrom saw the writing on the wall, and maybe we've been very quick to damn him. But actually, if he did see the writing on the wall, he was correct that this was a sinking ship and he wanted to get out of it. Can you blame a man for that? Potentially as well. He'd already had something whispered in his ear about more money elsewhere. And all of us would...
Where are they? Where are these clubs?
It hasn't happened yet. We haven't opened the transfer window yet. But, maybe he was told when your contract's finished, X is going to sign you. And all of us would go for more money to do the same job. So I'm not going to just completely jump down his throat and have a go at him. And another reason I'm not going to do that is we've interviewed Martin Wolford and Dean Hammond, and I don't want to be looking back on this in 10 years when we're interviewing John Lundstrom and me saying something horrible about him when off the field. Who knows?
No, I'm not having that. I don't even care. I don't even care. Do you know what it is, mate? It's all these... It's everything about him not caring. Like, just not getting back, just stood there when others are, like, running like maniacs around him. He just stood there not caring. And for me, go on then. You haven't even giving me your rating yet. I'm getting angry now. Come on, give me your rating.
I'm defending John Lundstrom far too much, and then I'm going to drop the bomb. I'm giving him a 3.
I'm giving him a 2. Anyway, let's move on.
Not
I've had it. Yeah, no. I hate the fact that you could just see him stood there, not doing anything, not tracking back. Anyway, let's move on.
There were times he didn't track back. Leads away. Unforgivable.
Embarrassing. There was Leeds away attacking as well, mate, because he was stood in the box, literally hands on hips, having a fag. I don't know how you can have hands on hips and having a fag at the same time. But it's just embarrassing. You're attacking. Why are you not stood in the 6-yard spot or stood on the penalty spot?
I got a feeling people in the comments, Nick, are going to agree with you. And then in 10 to 15 years' time, when we get the full story, they may agree with me.
What? He's a young lad. He's a young lad getting paid a load of money. I'm sorry. No. His head's been turned.
That's what I said. I think it has been turned. No, but I'm also saying you blame a young man?
You don't down tools though, do you?
I don't think he did down tools, and I just think he didn't play well. But I don't think
it's not just that. He's running. You can say
at
someone
the start of the season he was running. He got into that box late at Leeds at home, but by the time we got to Leeds away, yes, I think he had slightly reined it in a bit and he wasn't making a complete full effort. Only he will know if he was really still giving 100%. every game. I was
No, we
delighted
know
when
as well.
Well,
We
I was
know.
delighted when Hecky finally dropped him. That was one thing Wilder should probably have done earlier, but he would have cited injuries and maybe the fact that Wilder didn't trust some of the youngsters as much as Paul Heckingbottom.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, after that, let's move on to the attack, shall we?
We argued so much of that. We already won Mark out.
I know.
Both gave him a terrible mark. Looney had a bad season.
Anyway, let's move on to the attack. And I think we've got more attackers than midfielders, which you wouldn't say that in any other club, would you?
Well, I think England might go to the Euros in a similar state.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, you can see it, can't you? You can see it on the team sheet where it's like 4 midfielders and then about 32 underneath.
Warnock would be proud.
Warnock would be proud, wouldn't he? But Wayne Allison's not there. Don't know what's all that.
Scandalous.
Scandalous. Anyway, let's move on to the attackers. Shall we go for an easy one, Dave Mcgoldrick, first of all?
Yeah, really good season, wasn't it, from Didsey? If he'd got these goals in the previous season, we'd have been in Europe. There we go. I managed to get a negative in on an incredible season. Didsey, I'm joking, of course. He was wonderful. He was a breath of fresh air. He was everything we hoped. I think I'm going 8.5. He's actually going to get my highest rating just because he was great all the way through the season. He didn't have like an initially poor start.
I'm going the same as you, Hal. 8.5. Yeah, I wonder. I can't remember what we gave him last season. I know we did it as like an ABC rather than a 10-9-8 or whatever. But I wonder how different it was from last season because he was brilliant last season, but he was lacking the goals. And like you said, this season, he's definitely not lacking the goals. He's the only one that scored a decent amount this season.
And decent goals as well. Almost all of them that he scored were contenders for goals of the season in the whole league, not just Sheffield United.
Absolutely. Arsenal away, the Aston Villa one, then the
Chelsea
Burnley
away.
game of the season.
Brilliant
Chelsea
goal.
That Chelsea goal deserved to be one of the goals of the season, 100%. Yeah, he's had a great season. I feel really sorry for him because it felt at times like he was doing it all himself and he was trying to drag everyone with him and they just were too tired. They just couldn't get up that hill with him. And to say that how old he is, like, I know it's not ancient, but at the same time, 33 for a croc, an Ipswich croc, it's just incredible. I love the man so much. 8.5 for me. And yeah, I just hope we see as much of him next season and he plays as well as what he did this season. Let's go down the leaderboard. I'm going to go with Billy Sharp next because I've gone with Billy Sharp probably the second highest. I've gone with a 6 for Sharpie because I do think that Sharpie, when he'd been called upon, he's always delivered this season. He got that winner against West Brom, which was brilliant. He stood up and was counted for penalties. He scored goals in the FA Cup as well. He probably got us quite far in the FA Cup. I know a lot of them weren't Premier League teams. Yeah, so Billy Sharp stood up every time we needed him. Hal, what are you saying?
Yeah, I love Billy Sharp because, again, he's a blade. He's the captain. He takes a brilliant penalty. He's that fox in the box. It's amazing he's still doing it at the highest level at this age. And it was also crazy that we've just reviewed Dave Mcgoldrick and Billy Sharp, and we threw all the money at the other strikers we haven't got to yet. And really, the best front two, where we looked the most composed in front of goal, was Didsey and Billy. And we could have saved an absolute fortune. We'd still have gone down, but we'd have a load more money in the bank.
Yeah, we would have done.
I am giving Billy a 6.5.
Excellent. Okay, that's fine. I'm fine with that. Let's move on to some players that I'm less fine with their performances this season. We've got Ollie Burke, we've got Ollie McBurney, we've got Rihanna Bruce. Shall we put them all in together? I think they've all been pretty poor this season. I think we had little glimpses from Ollie Burke that we thought we could have got something from him.
Yeah, certainly. Away at West Brom, he really wanted to prove to his old team what they'd been missing, but he just couldn't finish. He had that turn, and sometimes he took the ball with him as well, which is even better. And he scored that bizarre goal at Old Trafford where he had 2 bites of the cherry that he didn't particularly eat comfortably.
No, that was a very lucky goal, wasn't it? Very lucky. He did score in the cup, though, as well. A very composed finish.
Against Bristol Rovers away, yes.
Yeah, and I know it's a lower league club, but at the same time, I do feel like next season, if we did play him up top, which we probably won't, he will get a lot more chances this season because of that pace. His
Yeah.
pace is unbelievable. And I do think that what I'm going to say for this is I'm going to go Ollie Burke 4.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with that.
Okay. Let's move on to Ollie McBurney.
Ollie McBurney was over 20 appearances in the Premier League. 1 goal, which was against Leicester City, wasn't it, at home?
It was.
Big chances created, only 1, according to the Premier League stats in the whole season. That's not good enough. In terms of his other involvement in the attack, very, very small. Didn't really have a huge impact for others. No assists. Hit the woodwork once. Missed 8 big chances. Shooting accuracy, only 43%. From his 30 shots, he got 13 on target.
Poor. Really, really poor. I think you could probably say that Ollie Burke had a better season than him.
I have. I've given McBurney a 3 and Burke a 4.
Oh, okay. I've gone McBurney 4, the same. I know I've just said that he had a better season, but I think they were both quite similar, really, in different ways. I think they both flattered to deceive.
One of them's a striker, and they scored the same amount of goals.
We'll move on to Rihanna Bruce. Oh, God.
27 appearances, 0 goals, 24 shots, 8 on target. He also hit the woodwork, as we might remember as well. In terms of big chances missed, compared with McBurney, far less, only 2. But again, he didn't have any assists for anyone else. So that's always a shame, I think, when you're striking. You're always, with Sheffield United, going to be playing up top with someone else. A bad season for Rihanna Brewster, and we wouldn't have expected to get to the end of the season and him still not have scored a single goal. We got him because he scored goals in that Liverpool youth setup.
And the Swansea setup as well.
A goal every other game for Swansea when he was on loan. I'm giving him a 3.
I'm giving him a 3 too. Yeah, I think he says it all. He's had the games. He's had the game time. He's even had the game time against teams in the lower league. He had a couple of starts in the FA Cup. He's just not done it. He's had, like you say, he's had chances. We know that he's got that finishing touch. We know that he's got an absolute wand of a right foot. And I'm sure he's going to score loads of goals in his career. But it wasn't his season, was it? He was, and do you know what? He wasn't even putting the effort in for most of it. We've already said that when Jefferson came in, it kind of ignited that fire in him because he didn't look like he was interested before that. And we were almost like he's just waiting for someone to put the ball on his foot. And then when he saw that Jefferson were getting around the pitch and chasing people down, and he was like, oh my God, that's what I should have been doing all along.
Agreed.
So, yeah, let's move on from him because I think it's a season that he'll want to forget just as much as we do. Another one that's even worse. Oh, my God, I forgot all about Lise Mousset. Lise Mousset, the guy who had last season, for me, could have played Champions League football. He was that good. This season, he's got his boots on the wrong feet and he can't stand up. What's happened? What has happened?
He played 11 appearances, and in that, 0 goals, 0 wins, 11 losses. However, when he was on the pitch, he only managed 4 shots, 2 of them on target, so that's a 50% shooting accuracy. But he missed a great chance, didn't he, against West Bromwich Albion away. His entire Premier League records, that includes the Blades and Bournemouth, he's only 1 appearance away from 100. I'm not sure how long it'll take for Leeds to get 100 appearances in the Premier League. But in his 99 appearances in the Prem, only 9 goals. That maybe tells its own story.
Yeah, but last season he had that huge purple patch and we're like, this is the player. He's such a brilliant player. And he is. And I just hope he gets back to that wherever he is, because I like Lise Mousset. I'm a big fan of him. He's always got a smile on his face. He came to the Blades. Everybody took to him. But since then, I don't know. Since the season started, 2.
That's what I'm giving him. My lowest score.
Oh, a 2. Wow. Okay. I don't know why I've just.
You must have given him a 2 as well, right?
I don't know why. I don't know why I'm really shocked because I'm giving him a 2 as well.
Of course you have. You couldn't give him anything else.
Why were I so shocked at that?
Because you're a strange man.
I am a strange man, and I thought we'd leave the best to last, Hal, because Daniel Jefferson What an absolute jewel in our crown this season. He's the only youngster that got brought into the mix that actually stayed, and he's the only one that we're actually going to be speaking about in this video for obvious reasons. 4 games, got himself a goal as well. He's the youngest player to score on his full Premier League debut. It's brilliant. He's going to hold that for a very, very long time, I think. And I'm very, very happy for the lad.
When you said it, jewel in our crown, I'm not sure we can really call it this season a crown. More like like a free hat you get at a fairground, or like a bent cap or something like that.
It's just going to fall straight out, isn't it, that jewel?
Yeah, but he is the jewel. He is the jewel. You're right. We don't want him to get hurt. Absolutely incredible. In those 4 appearances, 2 wins. Just the man made a big difference.
He did, mate. He did. And do you know what? I think we all saw it in that Palace game when he came on. Like I said earlier, he was all over the place, just trying to get a block on a defender's clearance, trying to muscle plays out of the way. I think that's one thing that he's got to work on in his game, bulking up a little bit, because he did get knocked about a bit. And for a big guy like he is, a really tall guy, he does need to be quite powerful as well.
Powerful.
I knew you were going to say it. I knew it.
What are you giving him out of 10 then?
What am I giving him? I don't want to say it because I think you're going to call me stupid.
That's why I asked you, because I've got a number and I think you're going to call me stupid.
I've gone 7.
I've gone 7 as well. Only played 4 games. What are we playing at?
Brilliant. I love that. We are so in sync, me and you. We're like Justin and JC.
Were they in sync?
They were.
Right, good. Then that makes good sense, that reference. Yeah, I mean, it's only 4 games. They're probably getting a little overexcited. And we've seen it before with players that have had a very good start. Let's hope he can kick on. I think he's got real ability, and I wish him well. Seems like a nice lad. Thank you very much for watching. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Pop your ratings in the comments below, and we will speak to you again next time.